All right, now it's time for an exercise. So I want you to download the zip file I've attached to this lecture. When you open this zip file, you're going to see two files. Exercise-data.json. This is a JSON file with a bunch of course objects that we're going to import into our database. The other file is exercise.txt. And this is a command that we're going to run in terminal to import that JSON file into a new database. Now you can simply copy paste this into terminal, or you can type it by hand, as I'm going to show you in a second. So back in terminal, let's run mongo import. We use this command to import data into a Mongo database. Now here we need to supply a few flags. The first one is --db, where we specify the name of our database. I want you to use a separate database for these exercises. So mongo-exercises. The next flag is --collection. We set this to courses. After that, we have another flag that is --file. And here we pass exercise-data.json. So I'm running this command from the same folder where I have this JSON file. And finally, the last flag is --JSON array. We need this flag because the data that we have in this JSON file is represented using an array, as you can see here. So let's run this command. Imported 7 documents. Now let's open up MongoDB Compass and refresh here. So here's our new database, Mongo Exercises, our courses collection. And here we have 7 documents, as you can see. Beautiful. So here's your first exercise. I want you to write a program and get all the published backend courses in our new database, sort them by their name, and pick only their name and author properties. So that means you should start from scratch. You need to load the Mongoose module. You need to connect to our new MongoDB database. You need to create a schema to define the shape of documents in our courses collection, and eventually write a query. So pause the video, do this exercise, and then come back, continue watching. All right, I'm going to create a new file. Let's call this solution1.js. Here we load Mongoose and store it in this object. Now we need to connect to our new MongoDB database. So mongoose.connect. We pass the connection string, which is MongoDB : //localhost /mongo-exercises. Next, we need to create a schema to define the shape of documents in our courses collection. So constant course schema. We set this to new mongoose.schema. Here I pass an object. The properties we need to add here are based on the shape of these course documents. So we have name, which should be a string, author, which is also a string, tags, which is an array of strings. We have date, which is a data object. We have isPublished, which is Boolean. And finally, price, which is a number. So here's our schema. Next, we need to create a model. So constant course, we set this to mongoose.model. Specify the name of our collection, which is course. And note that this should be singular. And pass our schema object here. So now that we have a model, we can use this to query our courses. So we call course.find. Now we want to get all the published backend courses. So here we pass a filter object with 2 properties. IsPublished should be true. And we want to have the backend tag in these documents. Now we need to sort these courses by their name. So sort, we pass an object and set name to 1. Now there is also a different way to use this method. Instead of using an object, we can pass a string and pass the name of the property we want to use for sorting. So for ascending, we use name. For descending, we use -name. Okay? So I'm going to revert this back to what I taught you earlier in this section. So we set name to 1. And finally, we need to pick only the name and author properties. So select, you pass an object with 2 properties. Name, we set this to 1, and author as well. Again, here we can use a string. So we can pass a string with 2 properties, name and author. Which approach you choose, it's purely your personal preference. I'm going to revert this back to what I taught you earlier in the section. So that's it. So now we need to await this, get the result, and store it in courses. Now, because we use await here, we should create an async function. So async function, get courses, and move this code here. Now we can do a console.log here, but a better solution is to do this outside this function. Because this function, get courses, we expect this to return an array of courses. So we can simply return this courses here, or we can make this code shorter so we don't have to define this constant. We can simply return the result of this expression. Okay? Now we call this get courses function, get courses. So as I told you before, when we decorate a function with async, our JavaScript engine automatically wraps the result in a promise. So look, here you can see get courses returns a promise of any array. That means a promise that when resolved will give us an array of objects. So we await this and store the result here. Now again, because we have used the await operator here, we need to wrap this line inside an async function. So we can call this function run. This is to run our program. We put this line here, and here we display the courses in the console. And finally, we call this run function at the end. So this is one way to solve this problem. You don't necessarily need this run function. This is just how I prefer to structure this program, because get courses is supposed to give us the list of courses. Displaying the courses is not the responsibility of this function. Now let's run this program and make sure everything works. So node solution1.js. This is what you should get. So we have 4 courses. The first one is ASP.NET MVC course. The second is Express.js. The third is Node. And the last one is Node course by Jack.